Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Chad Franson here, co-host of the Top Business Leaders Show, where we feature CEOs, entrepreneurs, and top leaders in the business world. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses reach their dream relationships and connect with more clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships, and get ROI through Done For You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships, there is no better way than to profile the people and companies you admire on your podcast. To learn more, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. Devin Sizemore is a super connector who is on a mission to help 100 people make 100 referrals in 2023. He's worked with more than 500 businesses on their sales and growth strategies and loves everything business. His business experience combined with his vast network allow him to make connections that might not make sense at first, but are hugely valuable in the long term. Hey, Devin, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Chad, thanks for having me, man. Doing great.
Yeah, hey, great to have you here. So as we start out here, tell me about YourReferralPartner.com and what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. So the name, we try to make the name speak for itself. We help people build high value networks to generate more referrals, and thus the name Your Referral Partner. And we want to connect people with what they need.
So let me ask you this. How did you discover the value of referrals and connections? I guess you could probably guess how you discovered it, but how did you realize that was a business that you could start and build?
Yeah, so it's the one thing when I did self-discovery, I sat down and said, hey, what is unique about my journey that stands out, right? There's a lot of sales, there's a lot of marketing strategies. They all work, they all can have success. And the common denominator was building meaningful relationships, adding value, and having this system that continually generated ongoing connections. And a lot of people kept asking, well, what are you doing? Like, I ask for referrals and don't get the same inbound connections that you're getting. So like, what's the secret? And then as I kept diving in, I realized, well, wait a second, there is a system here that I've been using, and it's how I've built my businesses, and it's how I did, hyper growth in a corporate position as well.
Can you share the secret, or do people have to come to yourreferralpartner.com to find out?
No, man, we can dive as deep in as you want.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us kind of, your system or your secret to helping people generate referrals?
For sure. So step one, I always tell people, is you have to expand who you're connecting with. Often we're taught, create your client avatar, your client persona. It's the one thing that probably resonates with everybody. If I say, hey, who do you want to connect with? They usually reply with a customer. And that's great, but that's such a one-to-one relationship. And so what I tell people is stop trying to chase customers and let's chase people who have access to our customers. So we go through the connection expansion exercise and we look at, where does your customer spend money? Where do they gather? Where do they get educated? Who influences them? Who coaches them? And then who's a connector that knows everybody? I want to spend my marketing and my sales dollars chasing all of those categories I just mentioned. And the gold ticket is, if we can find ourselves in a room full of people who have access to our ideal clients, that's a many to many relationship. And we have so much more impact. And so every dollar, every minute we spend in that room where we're nurturing and building relationships can have infinite return versus that one-on-one return.
So tell me about your mission here in 2023 to help 100 people make 100 referrals. How did that come about?
Yeah, for sure. So went through a couple renditions of my mastermind and we had tremendous success. And so I set the bar as high as I felt comfortable chasing this year. And so our goal is to have 100 people do 100 referrals or 100 connections. And with that, 10,000 connections, we're going to impact hundreds of thousands of people. My passion has always been positively impacting those around me. And I know for a fact that if we can create that momentum with meaningful, high caliber professionals helping and supporting each other, we're going to impact their businesses, their families, and the communities that they do business in.
So how did YourReferralPartner.com get started and then kind of evolve into what it is today? I know it didn't even start out as Your Referral Partner.
Yeah, so I've been in consulting for a decade through all my different business ventures, and they've had, it says to my profile too, it's had a lot of names. My friends laugh at me because the emails changed a couple of times. And so it started with this mission of, I was a marketer and I wanted to help people with sales because I realized, marketing leads were great, but people weren't converting. Well, then I realized, the more I help people with sales, their processes and systems started breaking. So I shifted into a system and process kind of focused brand. And then I realized, wait a second, it's all of it. And so we kind of expanded again. And what happened is, as I expanded, I realized, man, there's a lot of people that are great at this. And it's true. There are so many consultants and coaches out there that are just absolutely crushing it. And if you don't have a coach, you need one. And I realized that the lane, again, that I'm best at is building this referral connection machine. And so I decided to own that space and just dominate that. And so that's why I went through 5 name changes and discovery as we figured out, what aligns with me and what aligns with my audience.
Let's talk a little bit about your journey. I know you went to University of Nevada, Reno. You got an English and journalism degree. What was your, you're probably 18 or 19 when you decided to pursue that degree. What was your kind of goal at that time?
Yeah, so I declared originally as a dual engineering major.
Oh, wow.
I did an internship and realized I didn't want to sit at a desk and never talk to anyone. And that's what the engineering firm was doing. So I jumped from super high paying industry to the poorest of the poor in journalism. And I love journalism because I love people. So I ran my high school newspaper. I had a ton of scholarships in journalism. I did the I can't remember the name of it. The Al Newhart Scholarship, went to DC. It was phenomenal. And I decided I want to do journalism because I want to meet people. I want to hear people's stories. I want to ask deep questions. And I realized as the journey went on and I had that degree, it sets you up to be a great marketer, a great coach, a great salesperson, and great at building relationships. So that degree kind of laid the foundation for what I do today.
How did you realize that? A lot of people in journalism school, want to hold government officials accountable and things like that. But it sounds like yours was more, I don't know, for lack of a better word, positive or friendly.
Yeah. So sophomore year, I ended up saying, sign me up for a job as a blog writer at an online marketing agency. That was 2009. And I went into the agency. Little did I know I was the second employee hired. There was like an office admin and me. And I ended up working my way up through the company. So I ended up doing, SEO, website development, social media marketing, video marketing, you name it, anything in the online space I did. Then I hired the people and then we fulfilled. And so it showed me that this skill set you learn in journalism, from copywriting to photo to video to interviews and storytelling, all applies to marketing. And thankfully, I ended up down the marketing path.
Is that what you did? You did that in school, or did you do that after graduating?
I did that. I worked for that agency sophomore year to senior year, and then I launched my company right after graduating.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I graduated. I was at a conference with my boss then, and we were doing the typical drinks around, after the conference, and they were grilling him because he was a hyper growing online marketing business. And I realized I knew the answer to every question because I had implemented every system and process. And so I kind of had this aha moment where I'm like, man, I love working for him. Great guy, great leader, but I should be doing this because I have all the answers and I'm really good at sales. And so I went to him and said, hey, I know you've gone national. Are you okay if I go in the local market and serve our clients and start a business? He said, yes. And I started out of my apartment with 1 month of rent in the bank and never looked back.
So a lot of kids who were your age at the time would probably be like, well, this is going to set me up to get a great job. But you started your own business. Has entrepreneurship always kind of been a part of who you are?
Yeah, I've always hustled from, picking up dog poop as a kid to painting the numbers on the curb, tutoring in high school, photography. I've always done something. Even if I've had a job, I've always done something else to make money. And I love the entrepreneurial spirit.
So how did that kind of first business end up going for you? Like, how did you exit it, or how did you move on from it?
Yeah. So the online marketing agency, the fun part of that story is in year 2, I went and bought the agency I worked for in college. So it's kind of a fun story. I ended up, being the employee and then owning my own business and then being partners with the guy I was an employee for. And then I ended up selling the agency to him 2 years later, and then transitioning into consulting and a bunch of other projects.
What did you take away from that first business ownership experience that you carried with you moving forward? Was there anything that you said you knew all the answers when you were not owning a business? Was there anything that you didn't know while you were owning it?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the list is hugely long. What I took away is I had a great mentor and I always participated in masterminds and coaching. And that always gave me something to fall back on when you get hit. Because as an entrepreneur, we're all going through the same journey and you're going to get punched. And so you need someone to look at and say, hey, I didn't see that come and help. Like, which way do I go? So I'd say that was a big takeaway. And then that business growth journey allowed me to lay the foundation for my strategies for growth, and kind of hone those in over that 4-year period.
What is BBSI and what did you do there?
Yeah, so BBSI Fund, that was my corporate stint. This was me trying to dabble in the corporate world. They're a national PEO, so they do payroll, HR, workers' comp. I knew nothing about any of that other than I referred business to them. And so I understood from a client standpoint why you would use their services. I made really good friends with the area manager in Reno. He wrote the salary and opportunity on a napkin and said, hey, I want you to take it over. When I stepped in, I was one of the youngest area managers to step into that role. I ran the whole region. The best way to explain it is, you're a franchisee without putting money in. So it's not a true franchise, but they basically say, here, this is the keys, go build a market.
How long did that last?
I was there for 2.5 years.
Did you enjoy working for a corporate, in a corporate environment, or were you always yearning to get back to kind of, running your own show?
Yeah, I'll tell you what was fun about it. So there's deeper pockets, which means you can do more on a marketing and entertainment and event front, which means you can have more impact faster. When you're self-funding, right, you can only do it as fast as your pocketbook allows. And so that was really fun to like really push some of these strategies and ideas with bigger backing. And it was really exciting to see that. It's exciting to see infinite support. So you can never outsell capacity with that much backing, which was really interesting. Super different dynamic than owning your own business. But what I realized is I was so used to hunting, killing, getting paid that I didn't necessarily enjoy the slow burn to get a bonus at the end of the year. And then I just love being creative, right? And so we built the systems, processes, the branch ran itself. When I left, we were the 5th highest growing branch in the company. And I just realized, man, like I want to impact people the way I want to impact them. And I want to be able to bob and weave and pivot. And then this year we set the mission to travel 12 weeks. Next year, it'll be 16 weeks. And having a corporate job doesn't necessarily play into traveling that much.
Yeah, you're a consultant and a speaker. Do you travel a lot for that?
Some. We're doing so many more virtual presentations now,
Yeah.
Which is okay. Like I love in person. And so, yes, I love when I can get on a stage and impact a room and drive as much value as possible. I find myself last week, well, I guess this week, right? I've done 2 presentations, both virtual, and they're still high impact, but it's just not as engaging. So yeah, love that. And then most consulting I do virtually now. Unless we're doing full team dives and then getting on site and really getting face to face with the whole team has a bigger impact.
So when you work as a speaker, what does that look like for you? What do you talk about? Things like that.
Yeah, so there's a few topics. The first is usually the connections referral side. I'm doing a webinar next week on it. And I know this probably won't be up, so timelines don't make sense, but I do webinars often on kind of the 10 steps to generate more referrals. And that's kind of my key presentation. And it's exactly the system I teach. So I've always been transparent with my education. I want you to know everything. And if it helps you run, start running. If you need my help, I'm here. And obviously we'll probably have more impact by doing it together. And then I do a lot of sales presentations and then just general business. So tools to elevate your business and track and manage your business as well. There's not much I can't talk about. I do social media presentations as well. So I really like to be able to hone the presentation to the audience with the highest impact that whoever's hosting the event is looking for.
You've had kind of a interesting entrepreneurial experience relatively recently. Tell me the story of the Enchanted Cat Cafe.
That one has to come up. That's the tell me something you don't know about me, right? So yeah, my wife and I, the end of 2021, decided we wanted to do a project together, and we wanted to test our ability to be partners in a business and partners in life. And so I had seen YouTube videos like 5 years ago on cat cafes, and I love the model. I love animals in general. I love hosting people. I love coffee. So it just like was a perfect social model for what we wanted to try. We visited a couple. As I was sitting in there, which I do in every business I go to, I'm crunching the numbers going, well, wait, there's this many people in here and they're charging $35 an hour. Wait a second, like this is a viable business. And so we came back in what was that? That was October. We signed a lease. November, we took over. We opened January 1st. We sold July 1st of last year. So 6 months operating. And then we sold to an employee. Super fun business model. I will never do retail again. I will just consult people who have retail businesses. But yeah, it was super fun, very impactful, and then awesome to help a young entrepreneur step in and run that business as well.
I've heard of dog bars. We've got those kind of all over the place here where I live in Colorado. What was kind of the vibe in a cat cafe?
Yeah, so most people that would come in would tell you that it was very, very calming. And so we had three parts of the business. We had a cafe up front that was away from the cats, coffee, snacks, things you could eat, and also cat retail, which was a huge business. And then we have the cat lounge, pay by hour experience, hanging out with the cats. And when you transition from the cafe to the cat lounge, people will tell you that they just feel relief. And so what we learned about the business that was not in our business plan is that the impact it had on people is amazing. And so we would have people come in after losing animals, after losing relatives. We had people who worked for CPS and some like really hard, high stress jobs would come in on their way home from work, and they would spend an hour detoxing. And then they would go home. And so it was the part of the business that was the most meaningful. I'll share a story that I'll try not to cry through, but it was amazing. And I share this because there's such hidden gems in all business. And so I walked in the cat lounge one day. There was this guy sitting in the corner by himself. I walked up to him, introduced myself, love meeting people, right? So naturally just asked a bunch of questions. And he said, "Hey, I'm having a rough day. I'm here because I needed a place where I could just get away." Interesting. So I kept asking questions. We'll come to find out he was on the verge of very bad decisions. And so we just sat there and loved on him and had a conversation. I went back upstairs. My mom worked for me at that time. She closed the business, and he walked out, and she comes up crying and goes, "Hey, that guy just said that we saved his life. And, we gave him a happy spot." So
Wow.
like that's the impact of that business and business in general. And, I have dozens of stories like that from that business, and they still happen today.
Amazing. So had you worked in that kind of environment? I mean, like a restaurant or a cafe or that kind of environment before?
No experience, not even kind of. I've consulted people, and I had visibility to it. And I know a lot of people in the space, but I'd never run it. My wife hadn't either. She did work at Trader Joe's, so she understood retail and consumer experience, but neither of us had done a retail business. And so we jumped into an industry we knew nothing about. We opened the business in 45 days and we cash flowed it on day one. So cool story.
Yeah, absolutely. So this wasn't this wasn't a franchise opportunity. This was a ground up type thing.
Ground up, figure it out as you go and run as fast and hard as you can.
How and why did you succeed at all?
Yeah, so everything I've learned came together. And so she's a mural artist, so she was able to get through, my wife is a mural artist, was able to get through the design and create this really great environment. Having worked with hundreds and hundreds of businesses and having a huge network, anything we needed, we could make happen, and we could make it happen rapidly. And that is the inherent value of what we teach in connecting your way to success. Because no matter what you want to accomplish, if you have a value-driven network, you can then tap into it. If you're a taker and you never give, you can't tap into that network. So as we were able to launch, I was able to get the insurance, the lease, the marketing, the merchant processing. I could build my own websites. I already had some of these skill sets. We could do it at such a velocity that even our friends were like, "Didn't you just get the keys?" And literally 45 days later, we're having a grand opening.
So you sold it fairly quickly. What kind of led to that?
Yeah, realizing that it's not where we wanted to play forever. So we kind of accomplished getting it cash positive and getting it to a place that it was very stable. And Haley realized that like retail is not her thing, and she'll tell you that. I would say I definitely hit that as well. And we had an employee that kind of raised her hand and said, "Hey, my dreams has always been to own a cat cafe." So that's fascinating. Let's make that happen. And we sat down and penciled it out, and she took over and actually stopped by there yesterday. And I mean, they're on pace to have their biggest month ever this month.
Wow. So things are still going well there.
Yeah, typical business dip you see on a transition. So she felt that the first 2 months. She stabilized. It's a first-time business owner, a young entrepreneur. So still providing a lot of mentorship and guidance, but I would say she has found her groove, and now she's going to run real hard this year.
What does you just told me a great story, but what's your proudest moment in your business journey so far?
Oh man, you didn't prep me for that question. That's a good one. My proudest moment is truly every time someone texts me or calls me that I'm working with and tells me they had a win. So great example. I had a client text me. We redid his proposal process for his business. It was a very clunky process. His proposal was not clean. And so we redid his proposal template, his process, his follow through. And he texted me and he said, "Hey, I've been using your proposal and I've closed everyone I've sent it to." And so like all of those little success stories from clients, that's where I would say I have my proudest moment. Another one, I just helped a client. We did a 2-hour session. She's on an ongoing client. And from the 2-hour session, made 3 connections. One of the connections signed up, 6-figure deal for her out of a 2-hour session. And that's my why, right? My why is I want to move your needle. And it's exciting when it happens. And then it motivates me to want to go impact more people.
Nice. Good for you. So, I was actually just going to ask you, do you have like specific goals moving forward? Obviously you've got this mission for 2023.
Yeah. So 2023, this is the mission. I've put this everywhere. I'm really standing behind it. The way we get here is through our mastermind and helping 100 people. I think we'll exceed it based on the traction and energy we're already getting towards it. At the end of that, we'll see what the number looks like next year, but it's probably going to be a bigger number. And we'll be bringing some coaches on to help facilitate the process. And I found my lane and I'm excited for it. And we're just gonna run with it.
Very nice. Do you still have a desire? You're running your own business. Do you still have a desire to scratch kind of like that entrepreneurial itch in any different ways? Or are you just moving forward right now?
Yeah, so we have a level of our program that we don't talk about, but it does exist for this reason. So I do have a partner level at Your Referral Partner, where we come in as a business partner of sorts with entities, and we do project management, we do vendor management, and we help with some of their marketing and sales services. So it's more of like an agency service model. I do that because it allows me to get deep into very different projects. So I have 6 SaaS companies I'm working with, an HR staffing company. And then we have contracts out right now for a couple more software companies. And so it allows me once a month to bring on a project like that we can dive deep into, have the team execute. And it allows me to play in spaces that, I can push the boundaries of creativity. But I do it all under one brand now. And then I do market those brands, but I market them as myself.
Okay. Hey, very, very cool. Hey, it's been great to talk to you. How can people find out more about Your Referral Partner?
For sure. YourReferralPartner.com, or you can look me up. I'm DP Sizemore on every social platform. I always say the same thing. I'll have a meeting with anyone. So if there's something we talked about today that's of interest to you, or you have a challenge you're facing, I'd love to talk to you. You can find my calendar link. It's not hard to find. And I'd love to get to know you and hear your story.
Great. Sounds good. Hey, Devin, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate you.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.